It was a quiet night in the small town. The streets were almost empty. Only a few lamps were glowing in the dark and the air was cold and still. The butcher shop stood at the corner of the street, its red sign buzzing softly, and inside the shop the smell of raw meat filled the air. The boy, just 17, stood behind the counter. He was not a butcher, not really. He only worked here part-time, helping with cleaning, packing, and sometimes delivering orders. His name was Aaron. And for him this was just another night. Just another shift. The old butcher, Mr. Clark, was sharpening his knife slowly. The sound was sharp and steady like metal singing. He looked at Aaron with his tired eyes and said, "One last delivery tonight, take it, and then you can go home." Aaron nodded. He picked up the small wooden box already wrapped in brown paper. The order slip was on top, and when he read the address, his heart gave a small jump. The house was far outside the town, near the woods. Nobody ever ordered from there. In fact, most people whispered that the place was abandoned. He looked at Mr. Clark and asked, "Are you sure about this address?" "Sir," Mr. Clark stopped sharpening for a moment. His eyes narrowed, and then he said in a low voice, "Don't ask questions, boy, just deliver it and remember. Leave it at the door if no one answers. Don't go inside, don't talk too much. And come back quick." The way he said it made Aaron uneasy, but he forced a smile and shrugged. After all, it was just meat, just a normal delivery, nothing to worry about. Aaron put on his jacket, took the box, and stepped outside. The cold night air touched his face. The streets were silent. Even the dogs were not barking tonight. He started walking toward the edge of town, the sound of his own footsteps echoing softly on the empty road. The journey was longer than usual. The lamps grew fewer and the shadows grew darker. Trees leaned closer to the path as he reached the old part of town. He felt a strange chill, not just from the air but something else, like unseen eyes following him. He tried to laugh at himself. "It's just nerves. Nothing is out there," he whispered. But deep inside he could not shake the feeling that he was being watched. Finally he reached the house. It stood tall and lonely, its roof broken in places, windows dark and lifeless. The iron gate was half open, creaking slowly with the wind. Weeds covered the path leading to the front door. Aaron looked at the house carefully. It looked empty, more like a ruin than a home. No light, no sound, only the whisper of the wind through the trees. He pushed the gate gently, and it groaned as if complaining after years of silence. He walked forward, each step heavy. The wooden box felt heavier in his hands, though it was only a piece of meat. At the door, he raised his hand and knocked. The sound echoed through the empty walls inside. No answer. He knocked again. Still nothing. For a moment he thought about just leaving the box and running back. But then something strange happened. The door creaked slowly open. All by itself, Aaron froze, his heart pounding. He looked around but saw no one. No wind strong enough to push the door. Yet it had opened. He whispered, "Hello, is anyone here? I brought the order." His voice sounded small. Swallowed by the shadows inside, there was no reply, only silence. But the door stayed open as if inviting him in. Aaron took a deep breath, his curiosity stronger than his fear. He stepped one foot inside. The air was colder here, and it smelled of dust and something else he could not name. He looked around. The walls were cracked, the floor covered in dirt, spider webs hanging from the corners. But there was a table in the middle of the hall, surprisingly clean, almost waiting for the box he carried. Slowly he walked to the table, placed the meat box there, and whispered again, "Order delivered." "I'll leave now." Just as he turned to go, a sound came from upstairs, soft, slow footsteps, like someone walking carefully. Aaron froze, his skin tingled. He looked up. The staircase was dark, shadows moving as if alive. The sound stopped suddenly. He whispered to himself, "Maybe the owner is upstairs," but his voice shook, because deep down he knew something was not right. He took one small step toward the stairs, his hands trembling, his heart beating fast. He thought about running, but something inside pulled him forward. He wanted to know who or what was up there, and as he placed his foot on the first step, the house seemed to breathe around him. The silence deeper, the shadows darker, and the story had only just begun. Aaron stood on the first step of the staircase. His breath caught in his chest. The silence pressed against his ears, and the air felt heavier now, as if the old house itself was awake and listening to him. He told himself again and again that this was just a delivery. Nothing more, yet his body refused to calm down. His hands were shaking, and every muscle in his legs wanted to run. But something stronger pulled him forward. The same strange curiosity that had made him step inside when the door opened on its own. The staircase was old and broken in places. Each step groaned under his weight. Dust rose in thin clouds with every move. The wood smelled of rot, and the shadows seemed thicker the higher he climbed. Halfway up, he paused, listening. The sound of footsteps he had heard earlier was gone. Silence returned, but it was not the silence of an empty place. It was the silence of something waiting. At the top of the stairs, a long hallway stretched before him. The walls cracked, wallpaper peeling away like old skin. Doors on both sides closed tight, except one, a narrow door at the end, slightly open. A faint glow seeping through the crack. Aaron swallowed hard, his throat dry. He whispered to himself, "Just check, just one look. Then leave," but even his whisper sounded too loud, echoing down the hall like an unwelcome guest. He walked slowly, his shoes crunching on broken plaster scattered across the floor, his eyes fixed on the glowing door. He tried not to look at the other doors, but somehow he felt they were looking at him, watching him pass. When he reached the end, he placed his hand on the half-open door. The wood cold under his fingers, he pushed gently, and the door opened wider with a low creak. Inside, the room was different, unlike the rest of the house. This room was not covered in dust. The floor was clean, the curtains were new, and the faint glow came from a strange lamp by the window. Its light blue and soft, almost like moonlight. Aaron stepped inside, and that was when he froze. Someone was sitting by the window. A girl no older than him, maybe 16 or 17, her back straight, her hands folded neatly on her lap. But she was not like any human he had ever seen. Her skin was pale with a silver tint, almost glowing under the blue light. Her hair fell down like threads of shining liquid, moving as if alive, and her eyes, when they turned toward him, were not human eyes. They were bright silver, glowing faintly like twin moons. Aaron's heart skipped. He wanted to speak, but no words came. The girl looked at him calmly, as if she had been expecting him, and then she whispered his name. "Aaron." He stepped back in shock. "How do you know me?" he stammered, his voice breaking. The girl tilted her head slightly, her silver eyes never leaving his, and she said softly, "I know many things, but you should not be here." Her voice was calm, almost kind, yet every word carried a weight that made the air heavier. Aaron felt trapped between fear and wonder. He wanted to run, but also wanted to ask more. He looked at the meat box he had left downstairs, and then back at her. "You ordered the meat, right?" he asked, hoping for a normal answer. But the girl shook her head slowly. "That meat is not for me," she said. "It is for something else. Something worse." Aaron felt the chill run through his body, his mouth dry. "What do you mean, something worse?" he whispered. The girl did not answer right away. She looked out the window. The night outside seemed darker through her glowing eyes. Finally, she said, "If you stay here, you will see what no human should see." Her words made his heart beat harder, yet instead of calming him, they pulled him deeper into the mystery. He took a small step closer, trying to be brave. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice shaking but steady enough to hold the question. The girl turned back to him, and for the first time he noticed the sadness in her eyes, sadness deeper than her age could carry. "I am hiding," she said quietly, "hiding from hunters, and if they find me, this house will not be safe, not for you. Not for anyone." Aaron's breath caught again. Hunters? The word itself sounded unreal, like something from a story, but her serious face told him it was no story. Before he could ask more, a sudden sound came from outside. A deep growl, low and heavy, vibrating through the walls. Aaron froze, his eyes wide. The girl's face tightened and she whispered, "They are close." The sound came again, this time louder, like claws scraping against the iron gate. The air inside the house seemed to throb with danger. Aaron stepped back, his fear overwhelming now. But the girl stood, her movements graceful and strange, her silver hair floating as if in water, her glowing eyes sharp. "If you want to live, stay quiet," she told him. Aaron's heart pounded louder than the growls outside. Sweat ran down his face. The empty house was no longer empty. It was a trap, and he was caught inside it. And in that moment he understood. This was not a normal delivery. This was the beginning of something far beyond his small-town life. Something that could change everything. Aaron's legs felt heavy. His heart was beating so fast he could hear it in his ears. The growl outside had faded for a moment, but the fear in his chest only grew stronger. He looked at the girl by the window, her glowing silver eyes fixed on the darkness beyond the glass. The room seemed brighter with her standing there, her hair moving like light trapped in water, her skin pale but shining softly. And though she looked like a girl his age, There was something about her that was far older, far wiser, far more dangerous. Aaron swallowed hard, his throat dry. What was that sound? He whispered, afraid to break the silence. The girl did not answer right away. She lifted her hand slowly, her long fingers glowing faint blue. She traced strange shapes in the air, lines of light hanging for a moment before fading. Then she spoke softly. It is them, the hunters. They followed me here, Aaron blinked. His head spinning. Hunters, he repeated. The word felt strange on his tongue. Hunters of what? Her silver eyes turned to him, and for a second he wished they hadn't, because looking into them was like staring at a storm that never ended. Hunters of me, she said, and hunters of anything that stands in their way. Aaron's stomach twisted. The meat box, the empty house, the strange glow. Suddenly everything felt connected, but he still couldn't believe it. Why would they follow you here? This is just a small town. Nothing ever happens here, he said quickly, his words trembling. The girl's face softened with something that looked like pity. Nothing ever happens until it does, she replied. Her voice gentle but heavy with meaning. Aaron looked at her again, trying to make sense of what stood before him. You're not human, are you? He asked, the words shaky. Half afraid of the answer, she did not deny it. She simply looked at him with her glowing eyes, and in that silence the truth was louder than any word. Aaron stepped back, his hands shaking. This is insane. This can't be real, he muttered. But his eyes could not leave her. He wanted to run, yet his feet refused. The girl took a step toward him. Her movement smooth, almost floating, she raised her hand slightly. Aaron, I am not here to hurt you, she said softly. You found me because you were not afraid to enter when others would have run. You are braver than you think. Her words cut through his fear. But before he could reply, another sound echoed from below, a heavy thud against the door. The whole house shivered. Aaron jumped, his breath catching. The girl's eyes narrowed. She whispered something in a language he could not understand. The blue glow around her hands grew brighter. The door downstairs shook again, louder this time, claws scratching the wood, low voices growling in unearthly tones. The sound made Aaron's skin crawl, he whispered. They're trying to get in. The girl nodded slowly, calm but tense. Yes, and they will not stop until they do. Aaron's fear spilled over. Then let's run, we can leave through the back. We can— No, she interrupted, her voice firm now, sharper. If we run, they will follow. They will destroy everything in their path. They cannot be allowed to find others. They cannot know this world is unprepared. Her words confused him. This world, he repeated. You mean Earth, you mean us. The girl lowered her gaze, sadness flashing across her face. Yes, your world, she said quietly. They should never have come here, and you should never have seen me. The scratching below grew louder. Wood cracking. The hunters were forcing their way in, the sound of heavy breath, claws against iron. The house seemed to shake under their strength. Aaron backed away from the window, his body shaking, his mind racing. What do they want? Why are they after you? The girl turned to him again, and this time her eyes burned brighter. Because I escaped, she whispered. I was theirs, I was a prize, but I ran. And now they will not stop until they take me back. Or destroy me. Aaron's heart pounded. He stared at her, at the glowing light swirling around her hands, at the calm but sad face that looked far too human and far too alien at once. The door downstairs cracked open, wood splintering, the sound echoing up the staircase. The hunters were inside now, heavy footsteps shaking the floorboards. Aaron gasped, his fear overwhelming. They're coming, he whispered. The girl looked at him one last time, her silver eyes sharp, her voice low but steady. Then you must decide, Aaron, stay with me and face them, or run and never know the truth. Her words hung in the air like a knife. The footsteps below grew louder. Shadows stretched across the walls, and Aaron realized there was no time. No escape. The first encounter had begun. The sound of footsteps downstairs grew heavier. Wood creaked and snapped. The growls were louder now, like wild beasts but with a strange, cruel rhythm. Aaron's heart slammed in his chest, every beat screaming at him to run. But his legs refused to move. The girl stood still, her glowing hands raised slightly, her silver eyes locked on the door. Calm but ready, Aaron stared at her. Torn between fear and awe, he whispered, "What are they? What do they want from us?" She did not look at him. Her voice was low but clear. "They are hunters, not of animals, not of your kind, but of mine. They search for me. They smell my blood, and they will not stop until they take me back. Or destroy me." The words chilled Aaron's spine. "Why you? What makes you so important?" he asked. The girl finally turned to him, and in her glowing eyes Aaron saw something strange, a mix of sadness and fire. "Because I ran away," she whispered. "Because I refused to be their weapon." The floor below groaned. Heavy claws dragged against the walls. The hunters were moving through the house, searching, their voices deep and broken, speaking in a language Aaron could not understand, each sound filled with hunger and hate. Aaron pressed his back against the wall, panic rising. "Weapon, what do you mean you're just a girl?" he said quickly, trying to hold on to the idea that this was all a nightmare. But she shook her head slowly. "I am not just a girl, I am something they built. Something they wanted to use, my body is mine. But my power was meant for war." Aaron felt his throat tighten. Her words sounded unreal, yet her face told the truth. He looked at the glowing blue light on her fingers, the way it shifted like fire and water at the same time. "Power," he whispered. "Is that what you're using now?" The girl nodded once. "It is what makes me hunted, it is what makes me dangerous. And it is why you must not stay here." Aaron shook his head quickly. "Leave you here with those things?" "No way," he said, but fear was still in his voice. The girl's silver eyes softened. "You do not understand. They will tear this house apart. They will find us, and if you stay, you will die." A loud crash came from below. The hunters had smashed through a wall, their claws scraping stone, their growls filling the air. Aaron could feel the vibration through the floor, his breath quick and shallow. He looked at the girl again. "Then tell me the truth. All of it. Why did you come here? Why Earth?" She paused for a long moment, as if deciding whether to trust him. Finally she said, "Because your world is hidden. Small, unknown to most, I thought I could disappear here. I thought the hunters would not find me. But I was wrong." Aaron's stomach turned, his small town, his quiet life, suddenly felt like the center of something enormous, something terrifying. The girl stepped closer, her glow lighting the dark room. "I sent for the meat to distract them, to leave a trail that would confuse them. I thought I had more time, but they came faster than I feared." Aaron blinked, the words hitting him like a storm. "You used the order, the shop, Mr. Clark." "Me," he said. Her face showed a flicker of regret. "I had no choice, but I did not expect you to follow inside. Most humans would have left the box and fled, but you entered, and now you are part of this." Aaron wanted to be angry, wanted to blame her, but the growls below cut through his thoughts. The hunters were closer, their shadows stretching across the broken hallway. The girl raised her glowing hands higher, the symbols brighter now. She whispered words that filled the room with a strange hum. The air shimmered, and for a moment Aaron felt the walls around them bend. "What are you doing?" he whispered, his voice shaking. "Shielding us, but it will not last long," she said, sweat shining on her pale skin. "They are too many, and I am too weak." Aaron's chest tightened. He looked at her, at the glow, at the sadness in her silver eyes, and he felt a strange mix of fear and courage. "Then what do we do?" he asked, his voice louder this time. The girl looked at him sharply, her eyes brighter. "You decide, Aaron. If you stay, you must fight with me. If you run, you may survive, but you will never understand. The hunters will keep coming, and Earth will no longer be safe." Aaron's breath caught, his mind spinning. The hunters roared below, claws slamming against the shield. The sound shook the room. Cracks of blue light spread across the walls. He realized then that the truth was bigger than he had ever imagined. This girl was not just strange, not just alien. She was a key to something far beyond Earth. And the hunters were not going to stop, the girl whispered. "Choose now," her voice steady despite the storm around them. Aaron's hands trembled, his fear screamed at him to run. But his heart, heavy and stubborn, pushed him toward her, toward the danger, toward the hidden truth that had already changed everything. And just as he opened his mouth to speak, the shield cracked like glass. The hunters roared as they broke through, and the night exploded with shadows and light. The sound was deafening, the shield cracked and shattered like glass. Blue light bursting across the room before fading into nothing. The air turned cold and heavy. And then the hunters stepped into the house. Aaron's chest tightened, his breath caught. He pressed himself against the wall, his whole body trembling, and for the first time he saw them clearly. They were tall, far taller than any man, their bodies wrapped in dark, broken armor that looked grown instead of forged, sharp edges like bones sticking from their shoulders and arms, their claws long and black, their faces hidden behind jagged masks, but their eyes burned red, glowing like fire through the cracks. The floor shook under their steps. The sound of claws scraping wood filled the hall, their growls low and hungry. They were not beasts, they were something worse, something that understood cruelty. The girl moved in front of Aaron, her silver eyes glowing brighter than before, her hands raised, light swirling around her fingers. She whispered words that filled the room with strange energy. The hunters paused for a moment as if they felt her power. Then one of them spoke in that broken, growling language, its voice deep, shaking the walls. Aaron could not understand the words, but the meaning was clear. They wanted her, and nothing would stop them, Aaron whispered, his voice shaking. "What do we do? They're going to kill us." The girl did not look back. Her voice was calm. "Stay behind me, and whatever happens, do not let them touch you," the first hunter roared and charged. The floorboard splintering under its weight, claws raised high. Aaron flinched, his heart almost stopping. But the girl lifted her hands and a wave of blue light burst from her palms. The hunter was thrown back, crashing against the wall. Wood and dust exploding around it, but it rose again, its red eyes burning brighter, its growl louder. The second hunter leapt forward, faster than Aaron thought possible, claws flashing. The girl spun her hands, forming a shield of glowing light. The claws slammed into it, sparks flying. The sound like metal grinding against stone. Aaron covered his ears, fear flooding him. He had never seen anything like this. It was like watching a storm given shape. The girl pushed back, her shield glowing brighter, forcing the hunter to stumble away. But Aaron could see her arms shaking. Her pale skin damp with sweat, she was strong. But each attack was breaking her down. Another crash shook the house, more hunters forced their way in, their heavy bodies filling the space. Shadows crawling up the walls. Aaron's throat went dry, his knees weak. "There are too many," he whispered. But the girl's voice cut through the chaos. "Do not give up, they feed on fear. Do not give it to them." Aaron tried to steady himself, but the truth was clear. He was nothing compared to them. Just a boy trapped in a nightmare. Yet he couldn't leave her, he couldn't run. One of the hunters spotted him, its red eyes locking onto his shaking body. It growled, its head lowering, claws stretching wide. Aaron froze, terror locking his legs. The girl moved fast, throwing a bolt of blue light across the room. It struck the hunter in the chest, sending it crashing into the staircase. But the force left her gasping, her glow flickering. Aaron rushed to her side, his fear turning to something else, something desperate. "You can't fight them all. You'll die," he said, his voice breaking. She looked at him, her silver eyes dim but steady. "I am already hunted. My life was theirs the moment I escaped, but yours does not have to be." Aaron shook his head, his chest tight. "I can't leave you, not now." "Not like this," the hunters roared, their claws slamming against the walls, closing in from every side, the air thick with dust and heat, the whole house trembling under their weight. The girl reached out and grabbed Aaron's hand, her skin cold but burning with energy. "Then we run together," she said, her voice sharp now, urgent. She pulled him toward a narrow door at the back of the room, one he had not noticed before. Her glowing hand pressed against the wall, and the wood split open, revealing a dark tunnel leading down. Aaron's eyes widened. "What is that?" he gasped. "A way out," she said, "a path they do not know. But we must move now." Behind them the hunters howled, their claws tearing through the room, the floor breaking apart, the red glow of their eyes burning closer. Aaron looked back one last time, fear shaking his bones. But then he turned and followed her into the darkness. The tunnel cold and narrow, the sound of the hunters fading but not gone, their roars echoing behind like a promise. The girl's silver glow lit the way, her steps fast and sure. Aaron stumbled behind her, his mind racing. His heart still thundering, he whispered, "They'll follow us, won't they?" "Yes," she said, her voice steady despite her shaking body. "They always follow. They never stop." Aaron's chest ached, his breath heavy. "Then why not give up? Why not let them take you?" She stopped for a moment, her silver eyes shining in the dark. She looked at him with a sadness that cut deeper than fear. "Because I would rather die free than live as their weapon," she said softly. Then she turned and kept moving, the tunnel stretching deeper. The roars above still echoing, and Aaron realized that whatever this was, whatever nightmare he had stepped into, there was no turning back. The hunters had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. The tunnel was narrow and cold. Damp air clung to Aaron's skin. The walls were rough stone and dirt, the ceiling low enough that he had to crouch as he followed the girl, her faint silver glow lighting the path, her hand gripping his tightly. Behind them the house shook with roars. The hunters were tearing through the walls, their claws ripping wood and stone, the sound echoing through the earth like thunder. Aaron's heart raced, every step heavier, every breath sharper. "Keep moving," the girl said, her voice calm but urgent. "Do not stop." Do not look back. Aaron tried to steady his breathing. His chest tight, his legs weak, he wanted to ask 1,000 questions, but the tunnel swallowed his words. Only the sound of their steps and distant growls filled the darkness. The ground sloped downward, deeper into the earth. The walls narrowed. The air grew colder. Water dripped from cracks above, forming small puddles that splashed under their feet. Aaron stumbled more than once, but the girl never let go of his hand. Her grip firm, steady, unshaken, finally. When the roars grew faint, Aaron whispered, his voice shaky, "Where are we going? What is this place?" The girl slowed, glancing back at him with glowing eyes. "A hidden path, built long before you were born. A place even the hunters do not fully know." Aaron frowned, his fear mixing with confusion. "How do you know it's here? How do you know so much about this world?" She hesitated, her silver gaze flickering with something like guilt. "Because I was sent here long ago, not by choice but by design. I studied your kind, I learned your ways, I waited for my chance to escape them, and this world became my shelter." Aaron's chest tightened, her words sounded unreal, yet the glow of her eyes and the echo of the hunters above made it impossible to doubt. The tunnel widened suddenly, opening into a larger chamber, the ceiling high, stone pillars rising from the floor, ancient carvings etched into the walls, symbols Aaron could not understand, but they pulsed faintly with the same blue light that glowed in the girl's hands. Aaron's eyes widened, awe pushing through his fear. "What is this place?" he whispered, his voice echoing softly. The girl touched one of the carvings with her fingers, the light spreading across the stone like veins of fire. "A sanctuary built by those who came before. Not my people, not yours, but another, long gone now. They left behind their paths, their symbols, their warnings." Aaron shivered. He had grown up in a quiet town, where mysteries were nothing more than old stories told by elders, but now he was standing in a hidden chamber glowing with alien light, and it felt like stepping into a truth far older than humanity itself. The girl turned back to him, her face calm but tired. "We can rest for a moment, but not long. They will find the tunnel. They always find the path." Aaron leaned against a pillar, his body aching, his breath heavy. "I don't understand. Why me? Why did it have to be me who brought that box? Who saw you? Who got trapped in this?" The girl's silver eyes softened. "Because you entered when others would have fled. You were not afraid to step into the unknown, even when your heart told you to run. That is why." Aaron shook his head. "I was afraid. I'm still afraid." She gave a small, almost human smile. "Fear does not make you weak, it makes you real. And still you stayed." Her words struck him harder than claws could. For a moment his fear eased, replaced by something else, something heavier, responsibility. Before he could answer, the chamber trembled, dust falling from the ceiling. The distant sound of claws echoed closer. The hunters had found the tunnel, their growls rolling like thunder through the earth. The girl's expression hardened, her glow rising again. "We must go deeper," she said firmly, pulling him toward another tunnel at the far side of the chamber. Aaron followed, his chest tight, his fear rising again, but his legs moved. His hand still locked in hers, the tunnel twisted sharply, leading them down a steep slope, the sound of the hunters behind growing louder with each step. Aaron glanced back, his eyes catching faint red glows in the distance. "Moving fast, they're coming," he gasped, panic flooding his voice. The girl pulled him harder, her silver glow brightening. "Then we must be faster," she said, her tone sharper now. The tunnel opened again, this time into a cavern split by an underground river, black water rushing fast, cutting the chamber in two. The only path across was a narrow stone bridge. Cracked and wet, Aaron froze at the edge, his legs trembling. "We'll fall, I can't cross that." The girl looked at him, her silver eyes steady. "You can. Trust me, keep your eyes on me. Not on the water." She stepped first, her bare feet steady on the slick stone, her glow reflecting on the dark river below. Aaron swallowed hard, forcing his legs to move, each step shaky. The roar of the river echoing in his ears. Halfway across, the cavern shook again. Growls filled the tunnel behind them, red eyes glowing in the dark. The hunters had arrived at the edge, their claws scraping stone. Aaron's heart slammed, he almost slipped. But the girl caught his arm, steadying him, her voice sharp. "Look at me, not at them. Keep moving." He forced his eyes forward, step by step, until finally they reached the other side. the hunters roaring behind, but too large to cross the narrow bridge all at once. Their massive bodies blocking each other. The girl pulled Aaron into another tunnel, the sound of rushing water fading. The red glow behind them dimming but never gone. Aaron stumbled, his legs weak, his chest burning. But he kept moving, he had no choice, the girl whispered, almost to herself. "We are close, just a little further," Aaron wanted to ask. Close to what? But the look on her face told him the answer would change everything. And as the tunnel stretched deeper, the hunters' roars echoing behind, Aaron realized the escape was not the end. It was only the beginning of something far greater, something that would decide not only his life, but the fate of his world. The tunnel opened into a wide cavern, the air heavy with silence, the stone walls shimmering faintly as if touched by hidden light. Aaron stumbled inside, his legs weak, his chest burning, and then he stopped, his eyes widening in awe. In the center of the cavern stood a great arch of stone, unlike anything he had ever seen. It was not built by human hands, its surface smooth, carved with lines of light that pulsed slowly, like veins carrying fire. Inside the arch shimmered a soft glow, not quite solid, not quite air, a portal of shifting color. Aaron stared, his fear momentarily forgotten. "What is this?" he whispered, his voice small in the vast space. The girl walked toward the arch, her silver eyes glowing brighter, her pale hands trembling slightly. "A gate," she said softly. "A path beyond your world. One I should never have opened, but one that is now our only hope." Aaron's throat tightened. He stepped closer, the glow of the arch reflecting in his wide eyes. "You mean we're leaving, going through that?" The girl turned to him, her face calm but sad. "If we stay, they will find us. If they take me, they will learn of Earth, and your world will burn. But if we cross, there is a chance, a small chance, that I can keep them away." Aaron shook his head, fear and disbelief twisting inside him. "This is insane. I can't just walk through some alien door. I have a life here, a family, a home." Her gaze softened, almost human for a moment. "You think your life is still the same? But it changed the moment you stepped into that house. You saw me, you saw them, and now the hunters will never let you go. You are part of this whether you choose it or not." Aaron's chest ached, her words cutting deeper than claws. He wanted to deny it, to run back, to pretend none of this ever happened, but he remembered the hunters' eyes, the sound of their claws, the way the world shook when they stepped inside. He knew she was right. The cavern trembled again, dust falling from the ceiling, the hunters' roars echoing closer, the red glow of their eyes flickering faintly in the tunnel behind. "They're coming," Aaron whispered, panic rising again. The girl nodded, her glow intensifying. "Yes, and we have little time." She stepped closer to him, her hand reaching for his. "Aaron, I cannot do this alone. I need you." Her words froze him. No one had ever said that to him before. Not like this. His life until now had been small, quiet, unimportant, but here, in this cavern with a glowing alien girl, hunted by monsters, he felt something stir inside him. He whispered, "Why me?" his voice trembling. Her silver eyes locked onto his, steady and unblinking. "Because you chose to stay when fear told you to run. Because you saw me not as a monster, but as someone worth saving. Because you are braver than you believe." Aaron's breath caught, his fear still loud, but beneath it something else, something stronger, a spark of courage. He took her hand, her skin cold but alive with energy. Light flowed between them, silver and blue, the cavern glowing brighter. The hunters' roars shook the tunnel, their shadows stretching across the stone floor, their claws scraping, their red eyes like fire in the dark. They were almost here. Aaron tightened his grip on her hand, his voice steady now. "Then we go together." The girl gave the smallest smile, one filled with both sadness and hope. "Together," she echoed. She turned toward the arch, raising her glowing hand, symbols forming in the air. The portal within the arch shimmered brighter, colors swirling like a storm of stars, the hum of power filling the cavern. The hunters burst into the chamber, their towering forms crashing through the stone, their roars shaking the walls, claws raised, eyes burning. Aaron's heart slammed, fear flooding back. But he held on, his hand in hers, his eyes locked on the light. The girl whispered words in her strange language. The portal flared, brighter than fire. The hunters lunged forward, the ground splitting under their weight. Aaron took a deep breath, the moment stretching like forever, his old life behind him, a new one waiting on the other side. And together they stepped into the light, Just as the hunter's claws slashed through the air, the cavern exploded with sound and shadow, the portal swallowing them whole. The fate of Earth hanging in the balance.